The One Ring of Sauron had several bearers besides the Dark Lord himself. First, it came into the possession of Isildur, whom the ring quickly corrupted and led to his death. Then it passed to the hobbit Smeagol, who, over time, transformed into the repulsive and insane Gollum. Later, it found its way to Bilbo Baggins, who carried it for many years but, unlike Gollum, never lost his mind or his human form. This difference can be explained by a number of factors. Differences in character and innate qualities. Smeagol, a hobbit of the Stoor kind, initially possessed weaker moral resilience. Greed and selfishness lurked within him, and the ring quickly magnified them. Bilbo, on the other hand, was known for his curiosity, courage, and independence. He was inclined toward adventure and was not obsessed with wealth, which helped him maintain his independence from the ring's influence for a longer time. Circumstances of acquiring the ring. Smeagol obtained the ring by killing his cousin Deagol. This bloody beginning immediately placed upon him the mark of darkness and submission to the ring's will. Bilbo, however, found the ring by chance when Gollum dropped it in a cave. Despite having the opportunity to kill Gollum, Bilbo showed mercy and spared him, which from the very start created a completely different emotional and moral foundation for their partnership with the ring. Life circumstances afterward. After being exiled, Smeagol found himself in complete solitude, spending centuries in dark caves where the ring was his only treasure. Such isolation and lifestyle led to his physical and mental degradation. Bilbo, on the other hand, lived in the Shire, surrounded by the respect of his neighbors, friends, visits with elves, and conversations with Gandalf. He had many sources of joy, and the ring never became the center of his existence. Frequency of ring use. Gollum used the ring often to hunt and survive. The more often one wore it, the faster it would enslave the mind. Bilbo used it only in exceptional cases, during his encounter with Gollum, his escape from the elves. The more often one wore it, the faster it would enslave the mind. Bilbo used it only in exceptional cases, during his encounter with Gollum, his escape from the elves' prison, and in his stealth approach to Smaug. In his everyday life, he rarely called upon its power. Length of time as the ring's bearer. Gollum possessed the ring for about 5 centuries, many times longer than a hobbit's natural lifespan. Bilbo was its bearer for about 60 years. Toward the end, he did feel a strong attachment to it and did not wish to part with it, and after giving it up, he aged rapidly. Yet he never had enough time to degrade completely, as Gollum did. In the end, the fates of these two bearers were so different because of a combination of factors: personal qualities, the circumstances of acquiring the ring, life conditions, frequency of use, and duration of ownership. Bilbo's quiet days in Rivendell slowly grew darker, like the first signs of a storm gathering on the horizon.
At first, no one paid much attention to his gradual changes.
The elves, ever patient and courteous, believed it was simply the burden of age. But the truth was far more insidious. On sleepless nights, Bilbo began wandering the moonlit halls of Elrond's house, his soft hobbit feet making no sound on the marble floors. Sometimes the guards swore they saw him standing at the edge of the valley, staring into the shadows as if waiting for someone. He would return before dawn, eyes bright yet strangely vacant, muttering about unfinished business. He would return before dawn, eyes bright yet strangely vacant, muttering about unfinished business. The dreams became worse. The ring no longer appeared on a stone table now. In his visions, it floated in the air, glowing faintly, and a voice like ice whispered his name over and over. It told him he had been robbed. It told him he had been a fool. It promised that with just one touch, the warmth would return, the aches would vanish, and his life would be his own again. Bilbo began avoiding Frodo whenever the young hobbit visited Rivendell. His greetings grew curt, his gaze lingering on Frodo's pocket a moment too long. And though he hated himself for it, the thought crossed his mind more than once. If the boy were to drop it. Elrond noticed it too. The Elf Lord, wise beyond the ages, had seen the long reach of the ring's corruption. He and Gandalf spoke in hushed tones by the fire, debating whether to intervene. But they both knew, to take action would risk pushing Bilbo further into paranoia. And then, one night, it nearly happened. Frodo had fallen asleep in the Hall of Fire after a long evening of songs. The room was warm, the fire crackling softly. In his slumber, Frodo's coat had slipped from his shoulders, and there, glinting faintly beneath the lamplight, was the chain. Bilbo stood in the doorway, his small frame almost lost in shadow. His breath quickened, his fingers twitched. He took one step forward, then another. The firelight caught his eyes, and for a brief, terrible moment, they were not the eyes of a hobbit, but of something far older and hungrier. His hand hovered just above Frodo's chest. And then, a voice broke the silence. "Bilbo," said Gandalf from across the room, his tone neither gentle nor harsh, but carrying the weight of command. Bilbo froze. His hand dropped to his side. His chest rose and fell in quick, shallow breaths. For several long seconds, he couldn't meet the wizard's gaze. Finally, he whispered, I didn't mean to." But they both knew the truth. From that night on, Bilbo was never left entirely alone with Frodo again. Gandalf spent more time in his company, distracting him with old tales and gentle conversation, yet always watching for signs that the shadow was returning. Bilbo himself knew he was walking a narrow ledge. The ring was gone, but the echo of its presence still clung to his heart like a lingering sickness. And though he tried to bury the longing under books, songs, and laughter, he could not entirely silence the thought that haunted him most.